Welcome back. As Vision 2030 draws to a close, the question before us is larger than politics, larger than budgets, and even larger than government. What kind of nation do we want to become? That is the abiding question. Will history remember us as the generation that managed problems or the generation that reimagined possibilities? Because the truth is this. A nation's future is never written by its circumstances. It is written by its choices. Tonight we examine one of the most ambitious conversations of our time. Kenya's journey towards becoming a first world nation. Can a country transform within a generation? What separates nations that dream from nations that achieve? And perhaps the most important question of all is Kenya ready to think beyond the next election and begin planning for the next century? And of course, I have my power panel with me, as I had promised. They're all here with us this evening to just, of course, try and debunk this particular journey to 2060 as it's been envisioned. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Yep. Karibu
yes,
sana.
I haven't seen this gentleman called Professor Gituro and Wainaina for the longest time ever, at least Patrick Obath and
I'm lying
and
low
Martin.
like an envelope, you know.
You've been lying low.
He's been making money.
He's been making money.
Where?
Yeah.
Where, my brother? I wish I was.
Yeah, you should be telling us what you've been up to, you know, what has been your collective selves. Good to see you.
Same here, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, you should share the money that you've been making. That
it's hard.
It seems Martin seems to be knowing
I know.
what is going on.
I even know the amount.
Oh, you know the Where did you get this guy from?
All right, Professor.
He has informers everywhere.
It looks like. But good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for
Excellent.
joining us. Professor Gituro Wainaina is a former Director General of Vision 2030. Very pivotal, of course, on this journey,
Right.
where we have a sunset coming up in 2030. Just how many years shy right now? We should actually be talking about 2.5 years shy to 2030.
so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, we have also with us Engineer Patrick Obath, who is the chair of KEPSA Foundation, and Martin Oloo, who is the Associate Dean, School of Law at DStv University and Advocate of the High Court. Let's just begin with you, Gituro Wainaina, because now this is smack dab in the middle of what we are talking about. You have been part of the journey since its initiation right now.
Yeah.
Midway, we're coming to the sunset, and people are wondering, why do we need to just have maybe another blueprint? Why can't we just extend what we do have, right? Instead of simplifying, instead of just coming up with a new Vision 2060, we simplify this Vision 2030, of course, and extend it, the existing Vision 2030.
The existing pillars.
Yeah.
First, I probably would have, and thanks for having us here, I probably would have called it 2063, perhaps to resonate with the African Union.
With the Agenda 2063 of African Union.
Yes, indeed. And the reason why is since Trump came to power, there's a lot Africa has to think through, and we can only move forward in terms of African continent. I totally agree with you, and I've gone through chapter 5 of what Anyang' Nyong'o and the team came up with. The 3 pillars are still relevant, extremely relevant. In my view, perhaps we should have maintained the 3 pillars, the economic pillar, the social, and the political, because the issues we still have, economically, socially, and politically, they are still very live with us. And a vision from the perspective of a strategy, and the gentleman on my right is an expert in that, it gives you, is a mirage. It really doesn't, I say now we have got it, but new things come in. If you reflect back when we started, nobody used to talk about AI, right? Today it's a different ballgame. So it's a question of looking at come 2030. What has changed since then? And what do we need to adapt so that we can address what is there? The 3 pillars are still relevant, easy to remember. And I think it's very important here to distinguish what a pillar, in terms of definition, includes vis-a-vis sectors.
Yes.
A pillar is a very strong damn thing, right? If you want to build a good house, then you must have a pillar.
That's
And it holds a lot of things. My mind go to the Socrates and the Greek, the huge building. And therefore, when I look at the
The
pillars,
Corinthian pillars.
yeah, exactly. The Fed, if you go to Washington, D.C., when I see the pillars, I still want to see economic holding agriculture, economic holding manufacturing, economics holding BPOs, all that. When I come to the social, I want to see how sports come into play. And by the way, we did terribly in Glasgow. Nobody wants to talk about it, the Commonwealth. How do you deal with the youth? And how do you still look at education? How do you still look at health? Fundamental. But really the most strong point, and I think it's very important to say up front, you can say anything you want, that will be this, will go to Singapore, but that truthiness in yourself,
Yes.
doing the right thing, is what will take us to really what we would like to be. And that is what people like Singapore, countries like South Korea did. So I really, and the good thing, I think the team of Karuti, the team of Yang Nyong, a lot of respect for Professor Michael Chege. They came very strong aspect. But they say this is now going for discussion. And I would like the public service to look at it, bring experts like we did Vision 2030, interrogate it, go to the counties, interrogate it, and come with something. They just give us the pointers into it than anything else. So I would suggest that very strongly the three pillars are still valid. We still have challenges in education, actually more. They still have challenges in environment. And environment, I'll pick it out and have it as an enabler. That's how I see it. Because if you look even these days, you are required to do ECG, environmental,
Social
and social. But environment is something now perhaps is an enabler for us. It's real. I was joking with Patrick 2 weeks ago that we have never seen the kind of sunshine we saw in July. So there are things happening,
Yes.
and we need to start thinking through how do we incorporate in terms of our way forward as a country. And I challenge this aspect we need to do. And the political pillar will move us from a country to a nation. Hii ingine tutapiga kelele, but still mark timing as a country.
All right.
But if we address our political pillar well, like my brother saying that I'm making money, and I hope we are making money, all of us, that's what will make us move forward.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
All right, let me just come to you, Engineer Patrick Obath, because also people were wondering in the constitution of that particular team, I don't know if there was any representation also from the private sector. Is it the time now they're coming now for the public participation as well? Have you been in the journey of crafting this particular vision moving forward?
I think what was talked about the other day
Yes.
wasn't the vision.
Was the vision?
It was just a thought about we should get together and create a vision. And these are the elements which we should have.
It was a vision of
consider.
creating a vision.
Exactly, that's what it was. Because the basis of that vision was very well crafted. We need to talk about the Constitution, we need to talk about this and the other. We build from there going forward. Yeah? So that's the foundation. And that foundation was very well crafted. However, this is, I think, one of the problems that we've had is that, and even if you look at the policy statement that came out, that big document.
Yes.
Right.
That was handed by, I think, by Anyang Nyong'o and Hino.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Government is central to it. Everything in there is government will do this, government will do that, ministry will do this, ministry that will do this, and so forth. A vision is not prescriptive in that manner. It shouldn't.
Not at all.
You should be talking about the things that need to be done. Then create a framework and then get people in who's going to do it. But here it is very much ministry-led. So you can see the private sector wasn't really involved in that thing. Right? I don't think there was anybody, real private sector from Kenya who was involved there. There are probably people in government who used to be private sector people who gave some input. But I think it needs to be taken apart again and then reconstructed into a proper vision.
Exactly.
Right? It's very, very prescriptive, and it is not going to go anywhere. That's my view.
Is it going to go anywhere?
I don't think it will. I mean, you need to focus on 3 or 4 key areas. If you look at that document, it's focusing on what every single ministry should do.
Right.
Right? And that is not a vision.
The 3 of them, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But
it's
if
not.
you have 5 key areas, productivity, you talk about manufacturing, and you talk about maybe, no, not manufacturing, but industrialization, you talk about value chains in agriculture and so forth. So those are the 3 things that are going to drive development in the country. Then you have all the supporting things that will come and drive it. Yeah? But here you have everything broken down to be delivered by ministries. That for me is not a vision.
I thought maybe now this is where their vision casting, now it will be part of the public participation. Now you'll get a chance maybe to chime in as well. As the academia also was not really represented.
Debarl, let me tell you the problem.
Yes.
This document says this document has been prepared by a team of scholars, policy thinkers, and development practitioners. It says it was prepared by Nyang' Nyong'o, perhaps the only practitioner there. Then it says Professor Michael Chege. It says Professor Karuti Kanyinga. It says Professor Peter Wanyande. It says George Omondi Okongo, Dennis Onyango, and Eddie Ila. I don't know, apart from Professor Anyang, I don't know any of those people who has ever been in the boiler room and produced anything. At least Professor Nyong'o has shown that he did when Minister of Planning, ERSP, and he has gone to Kisumu, he's done something. All these other guys are thinkers, are academics. None of them is a practitioner. And by the way, they are all men. Did you hear what I said? Men. Now, there is nowhere where they are saying that they consulted anybody. They are saying they sat, they thought, they sat, looked at history, and by then they did a lot of reading. So from an academic perspective, the work looks well supported. The unfortunate thing is they didn't listen to anybody. They didn't talk to anybody. So they are not saying, even from a constitutional perspective, that they were observing Article 10 of the Constitution. Small wonder that private sector was not aware. Small wonder that women were not aware because they were not part of it. Small wonder that the counties did not know. So the first thing we saw is that there is these prescriptions, as an engineer properly says, which now have come into play, and we want to go and have a national conversation about it. Fast forward, planning and visioning is not the deficit that this country requires. No. The question we should be asking ourselves is that, why is it that we have lofty plans but no implementation? In fact, the president's speech laments, says at some point we were with South Korea at the same level, but now they are 15 times away from us.
Now that narrative is boring.
It's boring.
It's very boring.
But no, it's boring, but there's a point there. And I'll give you a very typical example. Sometime in 2012, 2013, 14 there, we went to South Korea and took a loan. 40 years loan, highly concessional loan, to establish what we saw in South Korea as a key engine of innovation and inventiveness and technology, the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. So they even gave us a loan, they gave us even consultancies, and they said we come and establish that school here. We went round the block. We only established that school about a year or two ago, the other day. A university, supposed to be an advanced university. The KAIST in South Korea is the engine behind LG, is the engine behind Samsung. The Koreans, South Koreans went to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, learned from them, they established theirs. It's the engine behind invention and technology. We went there, we liked the idea, we borrowed the idea, complete with money. We're about to start paying, we're actually paying the loan. We haven't graduated a single person.
So which institution is this that was?
It's now in Konza. It's in Konza.
Oh, the Konza.
It's, yeah, it's
Okay.
called KAIST. It's the Kenya
KAIST.
Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. And I know because I happen to have been in a place where I try to resuscitate. In fact, the little that you see is wherefore that we picked it up from somewhere.
So this was a germinal idea harking back to 40 years.
So now what I'm telling you, no, we are going to pay the loan before a single graduate comes because it's highly concession, all right. It was a 40-year, we've done 20 years doing nothing, just dancing around. So it's not how we think of what others have done. We should ask ourselves, what is this so entrenched in us that even when others can show us the way, we don't seem to learn. We don't seem to learn from them, or neither do we seem to implement. So that when we are coming down, it's not the visioning that we want to talk about. Let's ask ourselves the question, what is our political discipline? What is our economic discipline? What is really our preoccupation? So even if I gave, and they say this, a bad people, give them a good constitution, they'll make a mess of it. But good people, give them a bad constitution, they will work with bits of it that works. For us now, we are telling ourselves, and I'm very ashamed of ourselves, that we are saying that we need a national law, a legislation, to implement this vision, that what has been lacking with the other visions is a national law. That now we want a national law on development, that it will ensure that even after all the elections that these things run. What better tool do we have other than the Constitution of Kenya, Article 43, which guarantees us social
No other legislation?
rights? We don't need another legislation.
Okay.
We don't need, all we need is to implement what we have committed ourselves to. So I'm very disappointed with these ideas they are trying to tell us. And by the way, there's nothing new. And that's why when you talk about some of these good professors, and I know Professor Michael Chege from my good days in the university, we cannot go in the 70s and the 80s to plan and vision for 2060. Let's ask ourselves where we are. What will it take us to get to 2060? But if we are going back using a rear mirror to drive forward, that is certainly a wrong thing we are doing.
But aren't we also borrowing a template maybe from China, democracy?
We have borrowed before. What have we done with the borrowing?
Who are actually, casting their visions for the next 100 years, yes, that it would outlive even some of the leaders who are there within that particular party.
I wish we could compare ourselves to them. The problem is, those guys are showing that we have come from here, we are here, we want to go there. And they can demonstrate incrementally how they want to go there.
Why can't we be appreciative also of the small steps maybe we are beginning
Which small
with?
steps?
We began with Vision 2030. We need to.
We abandoned. By the way, we have not been implementing Vision 2030. We abandoned it.
You will tell us at what point do we abandon this? I mean, you are on that particular.
But
Professor Gituro.
Let's look at the procedure properly, and I think you are. It is important to have the team we have, because these are what I would call think tanks. They have not given us a vision. They haven't. And I don't think Professor Nyang, that's what they told the Kenya. This is what we think. And they're saying, go back, think through it, and perhaps as now the private sector, whatever, draft something would call something for discussion. Then from there, do the consultations, right? It's a process. And I think it's important that a country must see where they are down the road. And that's what the vision is all about. And with all respect, if you go back to 2030, he was in the team, I was in the team drafting. Professor Chege was in the deeper thing. Anyang was our minister. Very, very strong.
You know where I was at that time?
Yes.
I was advising from a corner because we moved from ERSP to Vision 2030. Remember?
Yes. I was advising from the front, not from the corner. But I think...
But the question is also...
yes.
Professor Gituro Wainaina, because yes, we can see some of the sentiments and the hang-ups of the Vision 2030 carrying over now to this particular, vision casting. We want now to even establish the National Economic Council as an authority.
But it's been there before.
Yeah, why are we regurgitating?
Yeah, what's new in what we're saying?
There before?
Because it delivered. NESC delivered.
So what is it now we're saying?
These are the measurements we want. What are the metrics we are using to get the milestones? Because yes, maybe there are a lot of things that are lost in the shuffle. that Kenyans do not really know. That
One of the main
there has
achievements.
not been an effective communication for Kenyans to be aware.
One of the main things which I probably saw Kibaki extremely happy was the Constitution. And it was a milestone in the Vision 2030.
Yeah.
We cannot operate without our own thinking in terms of governance. And that's why it spent a lot of time to come. 2011 became the Constitution. That's a landmark. If you step back, look at things like, very interesting, Professor Makawiti, one time he was a VC of Maseno. He said, I couldn't know how much time I would take from Nairobi to Kisumu because the road was terrible. You move aloud, you actually see the opportunity of what was done. So if we go down, there are certain good things and we can learn with that, which were done. However, and I think what is important is the Vision 2030 is there, but it's not pronounced as probably did. And you all know what happened when the Jubilee came in, and now the Kwanzaa. They actually dropped the ball.
Yeah, we had the Big Four agenda. So
No. Big Four agenda. And that's a mistake Kenya say. The Big Four agenda and the Big Five, those are within the vision.
There.
They're not outside.
They were not really effectively communicated because
Only what the Jubilee government told us. I have identified 4 things because they're important for Kenya. Let's learn with them. We're still doing the others. I've identified 5 things as Kenya Kwanzaa. By the way, bottom up is the best economic model you think anywhere. Beautiful. It's good. It's well thought through. Supply economics, productivity, implementation perhaps wanting. So, and the last one, when you look at the Big 5, well, they are in the vision, actually 2030. MTP4 is live as we talk.
All right.
The only thing which I agree, my brother, is that knack of implementation, pushing it to the.
And let's talk about the Big 5. Is this the Big 5?
Hang on. Let's say from
as he goes into it,
yeah.
What were we talking about manufacturing? What manufacturing did we create in the 5 years? In other words, we picked 5 items from that vision, so huge that we could not deliver them in 5 years. So it became just another waste of time. But now,
So they were somehow really overplaying their hand.
Mr. Dean.
I take the point that Professor Gituro was actually talking about. The first plank of delivering Vision 2030 was to establish the Constitution of Kenya. What that did, and it set a lot of things
Absolutely,
which were foundational in terms of delivering Vision 2030. Those foundational elements in that constitution, which has not actually been delivered. And that is why you're finding the very same, the speech that was given by the president, he went back to it.
Yes.
We're literally going back to start from there, right? Because we have not delivered on some of the fundamental requirements in that constitution. And I just go back to what has happened since that constitution up to now vis-a-vis Vision 2030. The cost of government has ballooned. We have more people in government doing nothing than we had at the beginning. Right? I'd probably be short for this one, but anyway, it has to be said. There are so many people who have to be given something to do. And it therefore means we are not actually focused on where we need to go. And if you look, and I had a look at this before I came here. If you look at country like Singapore, which you're always saying, they're focused on 4 things: trade, shipping and ports, education, and manufacturing. That's it. That is what has built Singapore, and nothing else. Right? For us, we are still creating this behemoth that cannot really move anywhere. And that behemoth then goes into this Agenda 4, Agenda 5, Agenda 6, and it is spread across a whole government. That Agenda 4, 5, and 6, how much was actually devoted to turning the economy around? They were all very nice ideals, but they were not actually addressing the fundamental elements that we needed to turn the economy around.
But maybe we need also to just look at them with a fine toothbrush, a pillar by pillar. Because I think when we were talking about affordable housing, that was also part of the social pillar of that, Vision 20 economic pillar that amongst the 3 that we are talking about, political economy and the social pillar as well.
But when you go to affordable housing, it's a great ideal. It was in both Agenda 4 and Agenda 5, all had affordable.
Yes.
Yeah? But what is being delivered?
One of the things...
Is it actually fit for purpose? The people who are actually, I mean, it's being delivered. We are doing affordable housing. It's creating jobs. And you see houses coming up and everything else. After that, then what?
I think one interesting thing is to follow through and pin down manufacturing. If you look, manufacturing has been across, moving. And the point of manufacturing is the impact it has on the economy. And there's a very interesting narrative. I think February this year, or April this year, China removed all the tariffs for African countries, except our brothers down south, because of their relations with Taiwan. And the question being going is, and you relate now to the economic pillar in the Vision 2030, how many bags of coffee do you need to buy a car? Those cherry beans, how many bags do you require to buy one car? Which, and is really addressing the issue, we cannot be doing the production and expecting us raw coffee or tea. The idea was in the economic pillar, how do we add value? And that's what manufacturing is all about.
Exactly.
How do we add value to our goods and services? If you do your maths, you probably need about 200 bags of coffee beans to buy a maybe 8 million car. That coffee, when it comes back, is 20 times more expensive than I sold it. And that's what the whole idea. If you can focus something, and I agree, something like manufacturing, add value. And that's what Kagame today, as we talk, is exporting avocados, coffee to Ghana. Right? Professor Nana had a lot of problem with, in Switzerland, they have the best, what is this you give ladies during their birthday? Chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate, whatever it is. You can see how old we are. We don't know what it's given.
Yeah, it looks like you've not done it in a while. Yeah.
I haven't done it in a while.
Evidently.
And it's interesting because he told them, we are not going to send you cocoa beans. We're doing and send you out there. If you look, Ghana today is the fourth largest economy in Africa, as we talk. So that idea of, and I like manufacturing. You look data from 1956 on manufacturing to the GDP.
But the reality on the ground, if you look at manufacturing, even when we were talking, manufacturing sector has been plateauing for the last 10 plus years.
But you know,
it's not been actually growing. I think also the enabling environment has not been very conducive.
And that's what I agree with my brother.
With an unpredictable tax regime that we normally wake up to.
The cost of umeme.
Yes. I mean, when you talk about manufacturing, I think that will never fly. If these reforms then they're not really overhauled completely.
You know, Debarl, one of the things that I'm very, very much on the case I'm very much on Professor's case. NESC, the National Economic Council, which was established around
Socio-economic,
yeah.
Yes.
Socio-economic council. That council was created with a very deliberate representation, including having Baroness Linda Choka there, direct from the UK, and there were two direct representatives of the Prime Minister of Singapore and the Prime Minister of Malaysia. When the Uhuru government came in place, that's when NESC was put to bed. It rested. From that time, and you see, if we don't go to history and pick up these things, the Jubilee government started off by just deconstructing the Kibaki state. And the deputy president...
There's a very interesting story why it was put to rest.
The deputy president was part of it. He came with Bita, again totally displacing Vision 2030. Now, what will make us believe that now in 2026, going to 2060, we are going to have learned and we are going to do things differently? We are talking about a debt situation in this country that is beyond help as we speak. We are on very lofty things. We are like, okay, everything will be okay, these pillars will work. we have to first of all tame the behemoth he's talking about. If our appetite for public expenditure remains the same, if we are going on to do things the way we are doing them, there will be no money to do all these good things we are talking about. If our 60-70% of what we are collecting is going to pay debt, and that's not going to improve tomorrow, even those 30-40 years to come, we'll be doing the same thing. So what is this innovative thing that we are saying with this thinking that is actually going to tackle this debt? Is going to tackle the public expenditure, is going to give us the reset button so that we are able to generate more, service the debts we need to service, and yet still have money for development. Right now, and the economist is here, we don't have money for development as we speak.
Yep.
So all these things we are talking about, we can't do them unless we borrow, unless we bring private partnerships, which we can do, but even that requires some kind of enabling environment to enable this to happen.
Right, but of course you need to come up with the vision before now you get people to
we need
try
to
to tag you along with the PPPs along the
right.
way, isn't it? This is a game plan. Can you come and, you know, jump in?
We need to have a very simple approach like Vision 2030 had.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? It was literally just one slide,
Absolutely.
which actually one page represented the whole of Vision 2030.
But I thought also the beta was somehow not
No,
really.
it is-
Beta is not a vision.
It's not a vision.
Beta is not
It's
a
a
vision.
manifesto.
It is just a manifesto.
It's a manifesto.
Manifesto.
But a manifesto somehow is also, you know, a roadmap to
No,
where
see,
you're
the
really
manifesto
going.
is a program of action, eh?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's an action plan.
Yeah.
Let me just give you what I think out of the current thinking that they have.
No, because I wanted just to get clarity on what Martin is saying, that they
Right.
dropped the Vision 2030. We still have the Secretariat, which is there, and the taxpayers are paying money.
But
And
you
so
see-
what function are they, you know, performing if you're talking
Debarl,
about
that's
that
not,
it was dropped?
that's not strange to us. Remember, we had session of paper number 10 of 1965, the paper. We had session of paper number 1 of 20 what? The Robert Owiko, 1986. There are things we've done. Of course, we had the ERSP, for example. There are things we've had, some of which we've done better on, others we've just abandoned them. The things we started talking about in the 60s, ignorance, poverty, and disease, are with us. This year alone, we are projected to be having more than 2.5 million people dropping down below poverty line. And you want to talk about vision? You want to talk about towards first world? No, please. Let's deal with basics.
Right, Patrick.
What I was going to say is that we know the document that I saw, I don't know how many pages, it had nothing in it. Had a lot of
56 pages.
56 a lot of there's a lot of things that need to be done. If I was to talk about
It's a terrible thing.
where we need
There's
to
nothing.
go, yeah, we just need to focus on the following: productivity as a country. We are actually very bad at productivity. We need to focus on exports. And there are papers that have been done on exports. We need to bring them together, basically distill what is required and move forward. And exports means value addition on everything that leaves this country. It does not leave as raw material. We need to talk about being competitive. And that means our power has got to be cheaper, our labor has got to be competitive. You talk about all those elements. We've got to have the infrastructure that means that to take something from Kisumu to the port in Mombasa is very cheap. It doesn't actually make it expensive to leave the country. We need to talk about creating an investment environment that makes it possible for people to come in and invest. We are getting there, right? But if you talk about the people who are coming to invest in Kenya now, a lot of them are frustrated because they'll come here and they'll sit in a government office and nobody will see them because they're busy doing politics. So investment is not happening. Go to Ethiopia. The minister will send his car to meet you at the airport if you're an investor. Here, you have to actually book an appointment 6 months in advance, and half the time you probably won't see the minister on the first day. We must encourage innovation. We are good at that one. That is happening. There's a lot of innovation taking place in the country. We have to build cost-effective infrastructure. And this is where, you know, these PPPs and everything else have got to be structured properly to do that. And then we have to have fiscal discipline and sustainability, right? The government has to spend what it can afford. It shouldn't borrow to do what it is doing, right? We just need to cut all that stuff that we're doing. We can't keep on borrowing to improve what government is doing. Government just needs to cut right down to what it needs to do and let other people do the implementation. They just give policy guidelines and they give frameworks of implementation. But let other people do it.
And that's why I started when I said, if you go back to the Vision 2030,
Yeah.
just run with it. And I think I like the point, when you talk about enhancing productivity, you're actually changing the supply curve. When you talk about the supply curve, you're talking about the producers. That's it. You're telling people, produce more. Because when you produce more, you bring more to the market. And that's what Thatcher and Reagan did. And you go back, that's when those economies develop. And that's why I say I love the bottom up. Because it was actually, let's go back to that farmer in Migori. Let's go back to that farmer in Taita Taveta.
Yes.
And I think if you look now, the whole concept of what the things to be done in the Vision 2030, they are there. And I think what is perhaps something we need to, as we take this journey, and it's my worry, I don't think the current government should think this is not a political, it's not a political statement. It's not for 2027. And to me, that perhaps is the most unfortunate thing. And the current president have to make it is not a 2027 campaign. It's what it means for the Kenyans down the road. And if you look at those economies, and by the way, I'm tired of saying Singapore was better than us, so what? So you move on and be better than them. I think the narrative is it's archaic, it's fake, it's dead. So how do we then, as a political, and the president is the CEO of this country, I should see this beyond my Kenya Kwanzaa. I should see this beyond whatever they are shouting about. It's about making this country better for us all. If you don't have that, don't tell us about it. Right. Because I can go back and pick it today and implement what is the vision, provided there's integrity, provided there's no corruption, provided we deal all the good things we talk in the Constitution.
Right, but if we look also at the investor confidence, I think there's a sharp rise in investor confidence just going with the latest projection that we had, that investors now, they're looking towards Kenya as a destination for, for them to come and stake, their investments here. So isn't that also a good sign that is, yeah?
The investor confidence is based on the stock exchange. There's not actually putting money into nuts and bolts in Kenya. A lot of money that is coming here is actually being put in the stock exchange. And that operates perfectly. Very clear, very transparent, very good rules.
Well, but we have a blue chip company like BlackRock.
Yeah.
When we talk about so
where are they putting their money?
That was it.
I think Debarl is a point.
No. When we are looking at the renewable energy, which also we have, a huge expanse of geothermal here. We also will be actually a net exporter of energy soon if we try and also put our act together. Yes. Yeah.
When you talk about that,
yes, that's what I'm talking about. So if we have a company like BlackRock that will look amongst the 10 nations in Africa and choose Kenya, don't you think then there's maybe a shining factor that maybe all of us are not seeing?
The financial services space, which is BlackRock's area, that's where they go, right? But if you talk about somebody coming to put a manufacturing thing to add value to agriculture, who's done that? Who has come here to put a big fishing company? Nobody has done that.
Wait, Dangote is coming soon?
No,
but he's going to refinery. I'm talking about just
Dangote.
Kenya.
No, I'm talking. That is one big investment. But for us as a country to grow, we've talked about the blue economy forever. Who's put up a fish canning facility here? Who's coming to trolling? Those are the investments this country requires. Dangote, yes, he's going to come in, but what is he going to do? He's going to get crude from all over the world, add value, and export it. That's all he's going to do. He's seen a market which is not Kenya, it's beyond Kenya. And we will have to give a lot of concessions for that money to come into this country.
And by the way, Kenya is more nearer to the Asian countries.
To the Asian countries. Yeah. So he's got his, he knows what he's doing.
He's got in his math.
But you need to bring something here.
I just wanted to put a point here about one of the things that the political class has to change in this country is culture. If you look at the success of various countries, like
Absolutely. It is.
Lee Kuan Yew, what did he do? He talked about integrity, and he put in a meritocracy. And also the simple thing that he did, Singapore is clean. People talk about the fact that you can't throw a chewing gum
Right,
but whatever it is, yeah?
Yeah, you can always talk about
Look at Japan.
But
Look at all these countries.
Yeah, before we even go to,
Yeah.
why don't we also talk about the dark side of the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew?
No.
When you want to really clamp down corruption,
Yeah.
I mean, how did he handle it as well?
You
Because
see-
I think we've been having sentiments of a benevolent
Yeah,
dictator
I'm
here
not-
in this country recently.
The
That's what I'm saying.
reason I talked about Lee Kuan Yew was not about how he did it. What I'm talking about, the culture that was created in that country, which is what is living up to now, is meritocracy and integrity.
But the journey towards that particular culture also
Yeah.
was not very
You know,
flowery.
Debarl, we want
That's what
to
we're saying.
Yeah.
No, we
Yes,
want to agree.
Look at Rwanda. Rwanda is the shining star of East Africa. How has it gone there? A strong leader.
But on the democracy index, does it really fly high?
But China.
That's what I'm asking.
yeah,
no, because there's a flip side.
Well, I hear where you are.
You hear
but
where
you see,
yeah,
I
because-
hear where you are, but you also need to hear a little bit that it's not, we are not going to Singapore to celebrate democracy, no. In fact, we are saying we are celebrating development there. And if you look at development in the 70s and 80s, as we are looking at, it is not democracy that delivered it. It's more of strongman leadership, a more resolute, in fact, ruthless leadership, focused on
Good ruthless, yes.
focused on
Yes.
certain deliverables. I mean, you are corrupt, you are my brother, you are what? The law is the law,
Yeah.
we fix you. So that is also okay. And again, when you look at development generally, development is, democracy is important for development, but development does not always have the same trajectory with democracy.
Democracy, exactly.
So sometimes look at even what's happening on the global scale, and you can even look at America and so on. That you have semblances of reverse of democracy does not necessarily mean that nothing is happening in the economics. So back to the Lee Kuan Yew's and back to the Malaysia and even China. China is not developing because of democracy. So it's a good ideal, and sometimes we want to say that even as we look to those countries, and he started by saying that culture is important. You see, if you look at Japan, for example, a country that was destroyed, it's the culture of Japanese on hard work and shame around certain things, that you commit suicide when you are a failure in some ways. Now, you don't like the culture of suicide, but that's what their pride drives them to, that if you are ashamed of yourself, you are the first one. Here, if you are ashamed of yourself, you say, I would rather die than resign. So those kind of cultures will not help us to move forward.
Yeah.
You have gone, you've been given an office, you have messed it up, and when we tell you now resign, you say, I would rather die. So with those kinds of culture or those kinds of behavior, we are not likely to inspire confidence in the economy and confidence in the leadership. So today, when you look at Goonism, for example, that you want to win through hook or crook, and you want to maim people, you want to have the blood of people for you to be a leader, that does not send the right messages, not to investors, not to even people who would have come to do better things, like Professor here. If you told him to go and try to be a leader, he'll tell you, no, I don't have the capacity to be a leader.
Because I would lie.
You would lie, and you also would have goons with you.
No, I will not. Probably
there
you
are
have
things
you
that
and Patrick
you
on the
do
side.
that you can have confidence being built, but there are also things you do that there's no confidence. So, for example, now as a country, if we have not demonstrated that we learn and that we have a purpose, that we focus and deliver, if we are always doing something and dropping it, doing something and drop it, how do you inspire confidence that this time round, if you start it, you'll succeed it? If you have a good constitution the way we have, hailed all over the world as a very transformative and progressive constitution, and you still talk about it, and you still want to have another law around it, it means you don't understand what you have. Because if you do, just implement it.
All right.
If you implement it,
So do
our
we
people's lives will be okay.
so do we also maybe question the advisory that the president is receiving? When you're talking about another legislation, I think we have very luminary minds who've really come up with this particular document.
There was no lawyer in this group. I haven't seen anybody here. Because to say that what the nation is, by the way, we have enough laws in this
Indeed,
country.
yeah.
We have enough laws. We can work with what we have. Just follow the constitution. We'll be okay. Just ensure devolution works.
I think
We'll be okay.
on top of I think I was curious, you have that Gen Z. How would you see the things that we are really talking about? And that's something we need to bring very strongly. But I think I want to go back to your question that the investor confidence. And I think it's important to relate NSC and productivity. And I think this is what, how are we can we relate NSC with economic development? Not growth, development. Can we see these people who are saying we have confidence in this economy, how do you relate what they are doing in the NSC with somebody at Homa Bay doing fish? Because the bottom line we are saying, we must be a country which produces. The trucks always have coming. When they're coming in, they have mizigo. Wakienda hanana chochote.
Right, but maybe also...
But so what is perhaps, and I think I agree with you, the whole thing is we need to start producing as a country. Whatever it takes, we now go to the nitty-gritty. Is it doing irrigation? Right? Is it having now infrastructure to move that food or that produce? We need to step back there.
Maybe the question also that should be explored is the issue of the NSC and the culture around NSC. Since you're talking about culture, and we have very rigorous, corporate governance with the listed companies, very strict with the Capital Markets Authority as well. That has not been replicated in the public sector, right? And I know maybe we've talked even a good game about the Mwongozo Code and how they should really follow those.
You love Mwongozo, don't you?
Mwongozo Code. I always reminded of the Mwongozo Code. This is a culture that we can borrow from the Nairobi Security Exchange and try and replicate also in the public sector. So then how then do we sort of make that particular bridge between, the private to the public when it comes to corporate governance?
When you talk about corporate governance in government, it's different from corporate governance in the private sector, right? In government, the buck stops with the ministries and the leadership of those ministries led by the CEO. So the CEO plus his cabinet.
Exactly.
They have to set the tone by which the public stock exchange, so to speak, will be run. So they have to live that governance. The Nairobi Stock Exchange lives it. If you look at the people who are running the stock exchange, if you're looking at the board and people like that, right? All those people are people of integrity. You can vouch for that. And they're holding that thing and running it properly. We need a demonstration of the same thing when you talk about running the government and creating a culture that will be able to transform this country.
Absolutely.
And that has to be driven somehow from the top. Right? And if you look at all the successful countries, it was driven from the top. Now, how we drive it from the top in Kenya, given that we're a democratic country and so forth, that is the battle that the leadership of this country has to think through when they're talking about doing a Vision 2060. It will not work until that culture is changed from the top and trickles down through government programs, through to the people of Kenya directly. Because that is the biggest way change can happen. The stock exchange can't do it because it's a small institution. But the government is the one that can drive the change of culture in this country. And if they just did that one thing of changing that culture to a culture that basically is talking about integrity, is talking about hard work, is talking about discipline, and doing all those things, then a lot of things will change in this country.
And we don't have to go. Magufuli did that with the short time he was there. He did it. Those who have gone to TZ, you see the difference.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, and I've shared this before. I was teaching then. We have a collaboration with Makerere, Dar es Salaam and Nairobi. I was teaching there during COVID time.
Yes.
And I remember going to the airport and having the mask. And this immigration, kwani unaogopa kufa? It was very interesting. And then the driver, he never put a mask. But Magufuli, and this is the strength of the leadership and the precision of the leadership, told Tanzania there's no COVID. They briefed him because he's a leader. So it's for us as a leader to take it and direct this country as should be. And it's very important. I think Professor Dungo last week or the other week in Sweden made it very clear. A leader is somebody who listens. You must be a good listener. Nasikia anasema nini, kusikia unasema nini, haya tunaenda hivi.
And then you actually
you now marshal your people.
You take all that, aggregate it,
absolutely,
and then get the right way forward.
Yeah, but you
Look at Ghana.
But what voices are you listening to? You know, because we have all this cacophony of noises also in the country. Which is a prominent voice that is of reason?
That's the
business.
The one who tells the king is naked.
Yes, the business of any leader is to offer hope, to offer opportunities, and to mind them to the nation. So what you need to listen to are the things that will take you forward. If you talk to anybody who worked with President Kibaki, the one thing that he never removed his eyes from was the economics, that budget. He made sure that anything you said, he saw it, he guided it, and you went only to read it if it was agreed, whether by the cabinet or by himself, but he went and did it himself. So the question then you want to ask is, what is this one thing? And perhaps we started it wrongly, because if you look at the Jubilee time, you can only remember, you know, some drama and whatnot. You don't see them saying, this is it. Of course, they will come out, same suit, same ties. That's okay, but that's optics. But what is this one thing that they chose to work on and delivered? Kibaki said, I want free education. And he made sure he put resources there. Today, the Gen Zs that are giving these guys a hard time are a product of that decision to make sure that education was affordable and accessible. What is this one thing you want to put in? Okay, let's look at affordable housing. What is the solution? What solutions are you offering with affordable housing? How many people are you now moving from informal settlements to these settlements? If you can do those metrics, then we begin to say something. But you're going to put a block of apartments somewhere in Kianyaga, a block of apartments somewhere in Vihiga, somewhere, you know. The question is, what are you transforming? Who are these people that you are substantially improving their lives by giving them this quality? Then you're putting it as a mortgage, people with a salary, as a mortgage with people that don't, I mean, if you ask me, if you are you're saying you're solving an informal settlement issue, we should see those high-rises in Kibera, we should see them in Mathare, you should see those places being transformed. If you look at Karachi was a slum city. How was it transformed? It was transformed through a housing solution. Then you are actually housing your labor, you know, people who offer labor, you are housing people who contribute to the productivity of the country through offering their labor and so on. So now, if you ask affordable housing, who is the beneficiary here? What problem is it solving? Those are questions you can ask. So what is this one thing you're putting your hands on? What is the solution that you are actually offering Kenyans? That's what you should ask yourself as a leader.
Okay. Let me come to Patrick, even now. Maybe we'll be just, giving our closing remarks in a moment. The issue of corruption, because I know also the private sector was very big in 2018. You sort of had a national conversation around it at Bomas that has stepped off. We've not had any follow-up to that particular conversation. The president now is proffering a hand, even to, the political divide, the opponents there, that you should come to the table. We negotiate on this as well moving forward. There has to be a collaboration somehow. The Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the late, was talking about having an intergenerational national conclave. As a country, do you think it's a providential time, especially at this moment that we're heading towards a general election, that we need to have a critical conversation?
That conversation should not be had as we head to an election. It's the wrong time. It should be had immediately after the election. Then you have time to actually implement what you're going to talk about, right?
So because
if we have a conversation now, it's going to be a conversation about the election. It can't be about anything else. And that is going to be completely counterproductive.
That's a sad thing.
Yeah? We need to have it straight after the election. Immediately the election is finished and there's a new government in place. We need to have that conversation. And that conversation needs to talk about a few things. You talked about corruption. And we talk about efficient governments. They have low corruption. They put out a stable macroeconomic policy. They offer strong rule of law. Very strong rule of law. They must have that. Then they have predictable regulation. And predictable regulation is around saying, I will regulate, I will put it now, but I will implement it in 2 years' time. You have time to prepare for it, right? That's predictable. We also need professional, merit-based civil service. Not employing my brother and sister and everything else and filling it all with my circle funds. And then strong fiscal discipline, I've said that again. And we need to continuously measure outcomes and have a third party doing it. As private sector, we offer to put, a performance, KPIs for counties. People say, no, you don't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that kind of stuff. We offered, how do we measure the performance of the government of Kenya? As a third party, what are the key things that we would like to measure for the government so that we can say that it is moving towards having a country that drives investment? Nobody was interested in that at all. So the conversation we need to have is around those things. Straight after the election, how do we set those things in place so that within the 5 years of that government, we can see positive change? And positive change, if you do all that, you're actually going to change the culture of the country.
Fantastic.
And I'm a very strong believer that if you don't change the culture, it doesn't matter what plans you put in.
Correct.
Nothing will happen.
The culture has to change.
It has to change.
Okay, and that's a big question. Then how do we begin? It can't just be a conversation.
No.
There has to be a huge transformation, even maybe from the education sector as well. Okay, your closing remarks?
It's a management guru, Peter Drucker, who said that culture will eat strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
That if you have a wrong culture, you don't have business doing a strategy because it goes, it goes
The
nowhere.
guru.
Yeah. So basically what we are saying, and I want to agree with Engineer Obath here, that we have a fundamental cultural issue here. We have the way we do business, whether we do our politics, whether we do even our governance, or how we even relate as a people, requires a reset. Because if you look at what we are doing on Oloo, thank God the Oloo people, didn't fall. But generally what we do around politics, you would imagine, look at the other day, some people went to State House and they went back with goodies and whatnot. Where? From where? You have promised them, I don't know what, you have given them what. I mean, there has to be a discipline around how we allocate public resources. It cannot be on the basis of friendship or on the basis of patronage or so on. So we have to actually ask ourselves hard questions. Right now, we are the real issue, and I'm looking at this economist here, the professor, the real issue is how do we manage our public expenditure? Because we have a debt to deal with, but we have a ballooning public expenditure to deal with. Today, the State House and the Deputy President's office are running on supplementary budgets every other time. I mean, they're like they're like some bottomless pit where resources are not being managed, things are just going in and getting out and we're pumping. Is that really where we want to go? Is that the kind of place we want to put that money? Shouldn't we be putting that money in more productive parts of the sector? Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Professor.
Yeah, I think what he said, it's doable. Nadi, the president of Namibia, the lady, she had it there 3 years. She has cleared IMF debt. That's a script through. What has she done? I don't think we need a conversation now or after. We need We need a leadership, and we need to call the CEO of the country to step back and very clear, very strong no-nonsense leadership. Because if the Mwananchi see this, the shilling they pay for their taxes is well used, you don't need a conversation.
Right. No nonsense, might come across
Yes.
as a misconstrued statement of you also maybe trying to give an idea of benevolence that,
No. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, even in a corporate world, that CEO is very important. And they'll be told by the board, you're not helping the institution now. The board here are the Kenyan people. But the Kenyan, if there's something we are expecting, the government we chose in 2022. What does it require? A very, and you don't need conversation. Just
Thank
wake
you.
up this thing. They are not tolerated in this country anymore.
Thank you.
You throw rubbish, Michuki style Matato, you are in it for it. Nobody complained. We were happy. It doesn't need conversation.
We need action.
Need action.
Need action.
All right.
Deal with it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Engineer Patrick Obath, your closing remarks.
There is this thing called public participation that has to be defined, quartered, and made to work. And once that happens, and it works effectively, we will probably get somewhere. But at the moment, I think that is probably one of the biggest.
Whether we do Vision 200, Vision what, it will not work.
It will not work.
Gentlemen, thank you. Right, we've run low on time, but what a treat. I enjoyed the conversation so much. Just listening, to you, it just brings to mind that, the territory, the map is not the territory, and the menu is not the meal. Right, but still you need a vision.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate. Have a lovely night. Thank you also for your valued company. You've been watching, of course, a conversation here on Vision 2060 and the way forward. Thank you for your valued company. Sleep easy.